One of the most important philosophical or theological topics in today's world is the relationship between the church and the state. Of course, we automatically refer to the foundational teaching that comes from Thomas Jefferson. There is a wall of separation between the church and state, and it must remain high and keep the two entities as far apart as possible. I want to uncover a certain fallacy in regard to this very important matter. I heard one of my wonderful, heroic Lutheran pastor friends, he's a friend at least through the internet, make this comment regarding American history in terms of the place of religion. He stated simply that all the nations in Europe before the United States of America was founded had selected their own national religion. That is to say, all the kings or presidents or prime ministers had already established a national religion. And he said that in a matter-of-fact way. However, I'd like to prove him wrong, as much as I love this guy because he's a great conservative voice in our country today. But there's a little fact in history that I think proves him wrong, and that presupposition upon which the whole United States of America is founded on and needs to be reassessed. What am I referring to? I'm referring to the Diet of Speyer. The Diet of Speyer happened in 1529. Actually, there were 4 of them, but the one I'm particularly concerned about happened in 1529, just a little bit after Martin Luther's official breakaway from the Catholic Church with his famous 99 Theses. And the Diet of Speyer was an effort by the emperor at the time, a good and a fairly holy, devout Catholic man by the name of Charles V. The Pope at the time, Clement VII, and he locked horns quite a bit, especially over what to do with the land in Italy north of Rome, otherwise known as some of the Papal States. You see, France and England were also battling over some of that territory, and lots of blood was shed over it. But that's a side part of the story. The Diet of Speyer in 1529, or the first diet before that, the emperor tried to solve the Protestant Reformation problem because so many citizens were revolting and wanting to follow the new Protestant way. Some wanted to maintain and follow the old Catholic way. Many were enthralled by the new Protestant way, and so bloody battles began. And the emperor, who was in charge of what is now Germany, wanted peace in his realm, and he came up with the idea that I will make a new rule, and each king or duke or prince or magistrate of a particular town or province or kingdom will have the authority to pick whatever religion he chooses for his realm or his province or his town, whatever. He thought that was a pretty good idea, and from our modern American mind, we might say, yeah, that was a good way to get away from the violence and the problems. But the Pope saw in his wisdom, even though he wasn't a saintly Pope by any means, but he saw that that was not the right way, because doing that is what established national religion. It's not too hard to see, right? Give a king the right or the authority to choose a religion for his kingdom. You then establish a national or a religion for his kingdom. If it's a president, it's a nation, of course. The Pope said, "Dear Emperor Charles V, I want you to nullify your ruling." And to Emperor Charles V's credit, he does so. At the second Diet of Speyer in 1529, as I say, he decided I'm going to nullify the previous declaration that a king could name a religion for his kingdom or a minister for his nation. And his reasoning for doing so is beautiful and is so important for us today. Because a king or a magistrate who was of the Protestant denomination could then impose Protestantism upon all his people, even those who didn't want it. Emperor Charles V said, I'm going to renege my proclamation because even Catholics have a conscience. In other words, they have to be able to follow their conscience. So it was the Protestant Reformation that really, for the first time, establishes the establishment of religion for a nation. In the United States, as they were founding the 13 colonies, they wanted each colony to have its own established religion. And it wasn't until the Catholics spoke up or got popular, were numerous enough, that the question had to be revisited. And so the injunction of Thomas Jefferson that says there's a wall between church and state is really misleading, because when conflicts arise, who has to step in but the government? That's what we're seeing today, my friends. And I'm praying and hoping you pray too for a renewed sense of Christian values and Christian principles, a Christian ideology within our nation. However, the relationship between church and state perhaps is best understood as a marriage, as a king and a queen, as it were. Two members, equal in dignity, equal in majesty, that have to come together and find out what's best for the family. Let's pray that we can sail through these stormy waters, as it were, in our own day today. Thanks for listening. I'm Father Tom Koys.